Hi everyone, it's Sasha and Suzy from Women's Fight
Yeah.
News. We're back. I feel like it's been a few weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah. Again, it's just been one reason or another. And
But
sorry, it's my
also, yeah, it was your fault because you were poorly. But no, but like I feel like not a lot. I feel like it's been a very quiet start to the year for women's boxing.
yeah.
But I think it'll from March onwards, we've only got a couple more days. I think March we've got a couple of fights to talk about, then April hit, and I feel like there's some big fights coming up. But yeah, I just feel like every week we're like waiting for like some big announcements, and they're like coming in, aren't they, drips and drabs, but nothing
Yeah.
major.
Definitely been a slow start, like you say, though. So I'm waiting for it, the big boom this year.
Yeah. But I think January, Feb always quite slow anyway.
Mm.
Like you say, March has come in. Let's hope some good fights, some more fights being announced because there's quite a lot of fighters. Like I'm waiting for things to be announced, like nothing's come yet. And there's going to have to be something soon. A lot of them, you're looking at like Ellie Scottney. She's not fought in ages.
Mm.
Shannon Courtney and stuff like that. So fingers crossed.
Definitely.
But we thought we'd do something or talk about something I don't think either of us have really spoke about.
No.
Um, so we mentioned it on social media that we'll talk about influencer boxing because I know I've made a point of like not probably voicing my opinion. I'm lucky enough because my opinion's changed a little bit, so probably glad I hadn't mentioned anything prior. But it's just quite a funny one. Everyone's so opinionated, aren't they, with this? I feel like you don't really get people sitting on the fence. You either love this or hate it.
Mm.
Where
No.
are you at?
Well, do you know, I've shied away from it as well because I feel like it's opening a can of worms, to be honest. Because, like you say, so many people have such a strong opinion. But I feel like this weekend, with the couple of fights that there's been, I feel like it's time to talk about it a bit more. But the way I feel about it is, I don't feel in the like. Yes, I've got an opinion, and yes, my opinion's valid as a fan of the sport. But I've always felt like I don't want to like be strong about my opinions when really it's the fighters who I respect more than their opinion on it. The actual pro
Mhm,
box as to how they feel because they're the ones it kind of affects more, if you know what I mean. They're the ones that
mhm.
are sacrificing, working hard, and then I can understand then when they see these fighters who have not trained that suddenly come along and get paid loads of money and get like a
Yeah,
prime position on a slot.
yeah.
I am mixed really with how I feel about it. From a personal point of view, I'm not that bothered by it. I don't particularly want to watch it, but I'm not offended by it either. And I don't think it's damaging to the sport either because I think it's quite clear what it is and what it isn't really.
Mhm.
Because you can't say that fight that was the co-main for Floyd Mayweather, you can't tell me people are going to watch that and genuinely think it's the top of women's boxing.
Oh God, I hope not.
Because you know what I mean, it's like it's quite obvious that that's just entertainment, isn't it? That's not sport.
But why is no one asking me? I would happily go and put on that performance. I mean, how much have they got paid? Like, get me in that ring. They weren't even the same weight category, I don't think, by the look. I've only briefly watched it because I don't particularly watch it. But like, come on, someone pay me to do it. I will happily do it all day.
And lying down in the middle of the rounds and things. I heard. I didn't watch it, but this is what I heard, that one of them was lying, all sorts of shenanigans going on. But the one thing I would say is that fight was just obviously like an awful fight. But I think the person that you're going to mention that's changed your mind and that's changed a lot of our minds is Jake Paul, obviously,
Mhm,
because what he's brought to the sport is huge.
mhm.
He's brought so many fresh faces to the sport, and that can only be a good thing in my eyes because they'll see him, then they'll go and look at other classic fights and really get into to boxing. And so I think that it's got to be a good thing for the women as well, surely, because it's
Mm,
bringing more eyes to the sport, and also Jake Paul, obviously, with Amanda Serrano, giving her the platform. I mean, it's been huge for women's.
mhm,
And I just think there's obviously a market for it.
mm.
Women's been struggling for the views. People have said, "Oh, the views aren't there. People aren't interested." Well, they are interested because these women are getting paid shed loads of money to fight when they can't fight. So there's an audience for it. It's just
Yeah.
using that social media to get the professionals out there and their personalities and to show people what they're about. And I think people will get behind them.
Yeah.
More
No, I
so.
do agree. I do agree with that. Like, I think there's definitely, I mean, when it all first come about, and I think it was like KSI, wasn't it? And was it Logan Paul, I think? I don't know if that was like one of the first fights. And I'll be honest, I didn't know who either of them were, because I think they're more for like the younger generation. I mean, Suzy, you definitely won't know who they are. No. No, but I just didn't know who they were, and I just did not get it. And then, I was comparing it to other sports, and it's like you wouldn't get a YouTuber partaking in Wimbledon on centre court. It just, and so I just didn't get it. And then Jake Paul come along, still didn't get it. He's definitely changed my mind. I love what he does. I like the management side of what he does. I like what he does with MVP. Love what he's done with, he's changed Amanda Serrano's life, potentially going to change Shadeja Green's life. Even one of his cards, I think it was for one of the Tommy Fury fights. I think I could be wrong, but one of his cards ended up getting pulled, his whole event. And he still paid all of the fighters half of their purse if he couldn't get them a fight within a few weeks. That doesn't happen. So he does so much good for the sport. But I think he's quite rare. I don't think that's going to happen with every influencer that comes on. And Jake Paul's no longer an influencer. He is a professional boxer. He's got his pro license. He's ranked, I think, with the WBC now. I think he's ranked like floating around like the 150 mark or something, but he is ranked. So for me, I feel like influence boxing it's very similar to white collar, where it's a new route now. It's not that conventional amateur, Olympic and pro route. And we see it with the likes of Hannah Rankin, Rhiannon Dixon. They've come from white collar. Hannah Rankin's a 2-time world champion. So I think we'll see some influencers, not a ton, but I think we'll see a few potentially come through. But aside from that, I think it's a separate entity, isn't it, all together? And I think that's what's going to be quite important, apart from a couple that might come through. Like you say, them two women who fought as co-main, I've literally only seen a clip and I couldn't watch it. I think I saw it on Savannah Marshall's story.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I couldn't bear to sit and watch it. But when you say like it sells, doesn't it? Like they sell out the O2. Like I've been to the O2 tons of times, whether it's a matchroom event, a boxer event, and I've seen it not sold out. I've also seen it sold out, but a lot of the times I've seen it not empty, but I've definitely seen it where they've got the top tier blacked out and stuff like that. They sell. So, but again, I think there's a positive and negative to that. They're obviously doing something right because people will buy a ticket. But then is it diluting the sport because there's only so much people can afford in the way we're living? So that's the other thing. Are we diluting it and taking away now from the pros?
Yeah, because that's a good point. Because I think someone else said that as well, that there's only certain times they can have shows during the year, and if they're taking away the venues, that's another issue as well.
Yeah, because they're taking away the big venues. They are taking because they are selling them. So fair play to them. But then obviously you've now got even more competition. Even though for me it's different. It's not boxing. Influencer boxing is very different than boxing. It's like amateur boxing's different than pro boxing. It's just a different category for me. But they are still taking away venues. Fine, because they're selling out. So why not? Making a ton of money. And then there's only so many tickets you can buy. So I'm still like, I don't know if we'll ever know, but I'd be really interested to know how many people kind of watch this influencer boxing who've never watched boxing before, who then fall in love with the sport and will buy a ticket. For instance, to Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever show, it doesn't matter. But how many will ever transition?
Yeah.
I'm not convinced at the minute that it increases the audience of boxing, but I could be wrong, but who knows?
Yeah, I'd like to think, might have some influence. I'm hoping that people research it, like watch someone like Elle Brooke, for instance, and then see that Ebony's there and who she's trained by, and then research that. Whether they do or not, I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, I'd like to think it. I'm just not convinced because, I mean, there's positives and negatives to this because something they've done well is it's the business side of it. So people are tuning in, for instance, to watch Elle Brook because they know her from whatever else she does, however else they know her, they know Elle Brook. So they're tuning in because they know Elle Brook, for instance. I don't know how convinced I am. There will be people that will then probably transition and then fall in love with the sport of boxing and then watch it. I think a high percentage of people are watching it because of the individuals that are boxing.
Yeah.
Which for them, I think a lot of pro boxers should learn from, because okay, they're not all going to go onto OnlyFans and they're not all going to do whatever some of them are doing. But the more you know someone, the more you follow them, no matter what they're doing. I think that's the point of, like, Elle Brook is known for OnlyFans and other bits and bobs. Who would have thought that audience would follow her onto boxing? But they have done.
Yeah.
And, so credit to her as just an example, because I think she's...
And then getting paid more than a lot of boxers getting paid.
And getting paid probably more than, take away maybe 4 of the women in boxing.
Yeah.
She's probably getting paid more than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Half of them combined. So, I mean, fair play to her. But then I think this is where I think some people, not just female boxers, male boxers as well, are missing a trick. And I always used to blame the promotional companies, saying they have to do more. I think we use Chantal Cameron as an example so much of, she doesn't get pushed enough. And I don't think she does. But I was thinking about this the other day. I think it does. The boxers do need to do more themselves. I think they have to push themselves more in this world of social media, whether you like it or not. I think they've just got to now, because it's proven if you've got a big following, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah. So whether it's themselves or the promotional company, somebody needs to push them forward, either themselves, or both, preferably. Because obviously with Katie Taylor, it's worked because they've pushed her so much in Matchroom. However, not everybody pushed like that, like you say. So then it's down to the actual individual. But like you say, it does work. I mean, look at Ebony. Look at some of the other people that have got like such big personalities. Michaela Mayer, Alicia Baumgardner, they're all pushing themselves forward. Sinisa Estrada, and people want to watch them fight, don't they?
Yeah, because I'm the same. Like, as a fan, we like any boxer that steps into the ring, I have respect for. I enjoy watching it, but naturally, you're always going to have your favourites.
Yeah.
And I think the ones that are normally my favourite fighters, obviously you've got to like their style in the ring, but I think it's when you feel like you know a bit about them, and you know that from social media. You follow this story. You know what I'm like with Michaela Mayer's house, obsessed with it, watching her renovations. Do you know what I mean? But like, you feel like you're starting to know who she is and where she lives and what the weather's like and what colour she's painted the living room. But I love all stuff like that. I think it makes a massive difference. And I used to, like, Katie Taylor's a rarity, isn't she? She very, very rarely. She's more active on social media when she's not in camp. After a fight, you always see her for about a week posting on her stories with her family, which I think is lovely. And then you don't hear of her again. No. You don't see her for 6 months, which is fine. I don't think
anything about her, really. I feel.
No, you don't know anything about Kate, but she can do it. She is a very, very, because she is just now a superstar. And that is purely obviously because of her talent and in the ring, and she comes across lovely, but obviously of what Matchroom have done for her and Eddie Hare. They're not going to do that for everyone.
No.
At all. You are 1 in a million, and who they're going to do that for. So for everyone else, they're going to have to graft a lot more. And I used to think, not Ebony is a great example of, she's a very smart businesswoman. She knows what she's doing and she's comfortable doing it. And I used to go, some people are like a bit introverted and shy and don't want to. But I was thinking the other day, well, actually, it's tough shit though, isn't it? In the sense of, like, I run a business. There's things I absolutely hate doing. But if you want to be successful, you've got to do it.
Yeah.
So actually, I've changed my opinion on that a little bit. And I think, well, if you want to be successful, if you want to be getting paid for these fights, saw a couple of fighters complaining to Eddie Hare, he wasn't putting them on the show. You got to do something about it. Don't just tweet that. You're not going to get on a show for doing that. The same people tweeting that, I'd not seen them on social media for months prior. And that's part of the game now, like getting yourself out there. So I think I've changed my mind a little bit, where I think tough now. I think you've got to, because it works. It's a proven fact. If you're going to get more sponsors, you're going to get more publicity. You are going to be known and seen more. Yeah. Ebony Bridges is a good example of that. She was all the way out in Australia, and now look.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's something that pro boxers could take away from what the likes of, I think it's called Misfits Boxing. I'm literally, I think there's a couple of others, but that's the main one I remember, like what they're doing. They've all got a massive presence, haven't they, online?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because everyone knows their personalities, wants to see them fight. They don't care if it's going to be a rubbish fight. What they care about is just seeing them in the ring and seeing their favourite people doing something
Or
fun.
people they don't like.
Yeah.
And, you know, you always have the villain, so you either want to see them win or see them knocked out, but people will tune in and people will pay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, because even like, and I know it's not women's boxing, but last night, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, I was genuinely fucking excited for that. And I was a little bit embarrassed at first to be excited about it. But now I'm owning it. I was excited. But it was such an average fight. It wasn't it was just what I thought it would be. But how much money have they just made?
Yeah.
Million. I mean, some average boxer from the UK. I know he's got his brother Tyson, but take that away. Like he's just sent 5 million for a fight, and he's like 6-0.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just obscene.
Like Tyson, Ronaldo, whoever else.
Unreal. So I think that is something that they really need to take away now. Of it's selling for a reason. It's because people know them.
Yeah.
People like their weigh-ins, like their publics, workouts, everything is just it's full to the brim. And I get they've got, you know, it's not easy for not everyone's gonna become not every boxer's gonna become an influencer. But I think it's so important that they start probably marketing themselves a little bit more. Or when you become someone like Chantal Cameron, who's got a bit of money behind, like pay. If you don't want to do it, pay someone to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know who's I think's done really well the last probably since her fight with Clarissa is Savannah Marshall. She's been on Soccer AM. She's done, I saw her on Sky Sports. Like she's been getting out there a little bit more. And that's important. Just get your face out there. Just start talking and getting like Michaela Mayer was brilliant at it. She was on everything, wasn't she?
And if people choose not to do that route, then they can't moan about it, can they? Because they've chosen to then just go down the route of having their boxing show that, you know, what they're about. It's fine, but it's just not going to get you there as quickly. And you can be as skilled as you like, but it doesn't always make you those fights.
That's such a good point as well, isn't it? Like, because in a perfect world, it should just be like you're boxing, just the talking in the ring, like any other sport, isn't it? Like I always go to tennis, you're ranked. You know what I mean? Like we know who's the best, we know who's ranked 50, and it's just not like that in boxing. It's political, it's all business. So I feel like you just have to play the game, and that's part of it. You've just said, like, yeah, you can do the quiet route, but you might miss out on opportunities because of that. I think Jessica McCaskill, Rick Ramos are a good example as well. Like, if you just shout loud and shout louder and a bit louder, you will get them fights. They got Katie Taylor at quite a random point. It was quite a random fight when you reflect on it, but they got it. And it would have been a nice little payday.
And Rick Ramos has said he's played nice before on social media and got nowhere. You start spouting some hate and start being controversial and you get all the attention. So he plays that game quite well.
Yeah, and you know what? He rubs people off the wrong way, I think, a lot of the times and stuff like that. So does Jessica. You know, I think she literally, apart from Katie Taylor, I think she had something negative to say about every woman in that top 10 pound for pound. But you know what? She pisses people off and she'll make fights.
Yeah.
And even if that's not you, because I don't think Jessica's like that. I think she's a very nice person. But she can irritate people. And I'm sure that's probably just an act. Because that's how you make fights, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did Michaela Mayer and Alicia Barngana make a ton of money in that fight?
Yeah.
Because it was one of the best built. And that was a great example, Michaela Mayer, Alicia Baumgardner. That got people who don't watch boxing watching it. I mean, Michaela Mayer kicked Alicia Baumgardner at the head-to-head. Like, I want to see that all week, every week.
I know that that's the thing. That's going to headline next time. I hope the rematch does happen, 'cause I think it will. But that's going to like headline. It's going to be bigger than ever because they just completely sold that.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, people were just tuning in because they probably saw her kicking her and thought, oh, I'm going to see the girl kick that other girl.
Yeah. Even if they'd never watched boxing before, like I'm watching that. You know, it was all over TikTok and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I love all stuff like that.
I'm thinking way back, like to people that, you know, the pioneers of the sport. I spoke to Michaela Lauren once, Swedish boxer, And I remember speaking to her about, you know, 'cause she was very controversial. Don't know if you remember the things she used to do. She was the one that kissed, I can't remember which fighter.
Cecilia Braekhus, she kissed.
It was, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically she was explaining it to me, it's because, you know, it's to get you that attention.
Yeah.
How else are you going to get eyes on it?
Yeah.
You know,
And
that gets you all that attention and all those eyes on you. You do something for 1 second like that.
And especially now where that little clip, if it would have happened now, that'd be on TikTok going millions of views and stuff like that. And I used to think, oh, well, if it's not your natural personality, but then I think actually it's a job though. We all act different in our job. You know what I mean? If people go in the office or wherever they work, everyone acts slightly different, don't they? So I feel like that's just what you've got to do. And it is just, unless you are someone like Katie Taylor, this is what you've got to do. I think Clarissa Shields does it perfectly. I think she probably seen as a villain, which I don't quite get. And sometimes I think that's more because there's a woman and she's outspoken. Media portray that quite negatively still. But she does that very well where she's outspoken. She'll say it as it is. Sometimes she'll ruffle some feathers, but we're all talking about her. She's always relevant, whether she's fighting or not. Clarissa Shields is relevant. Whereas we've got some fighters who, when they're not fighting, when they've not got that fight week build up, that 1 week, really speak about them or hear of them or see them.
Yeah.
And fighters are only fighting 2 times a year, maybe 3 if they're lucky. When, you know, we're obviously not talking about those who've just turned over. But world champions tend to only be fighting like twice a year now. So in theory, you're only relevant a couple of weeks a year.
Yeah.
So you've got to push so hard in doing other avenues to keep yourself relevant, to keep your name out there.
Yeah. And I tell you who I liked, the ring persona, which she's calmed down a bit, because it's Sandy Ryan. I loved the way she marketed herself, the way she was kind of the bad girl coming in with the, what's it called, the back and the, you know, not shaking the hand and the attitude. I mean, we all know, really, you know, she's a nice girl, really. It's just all a bit of a show. And when she lost, I think, because she got a lot of stick, she kind of calmed it down a lot.
But I think, which is a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I love that attitude. I think, why not? It's different to other people. You know, it got me talking. You know, I'd be like, yeah, I want to see what a ring walk's going to be this time. I want to see, you know, it made me want to watch it because of that.
Yeah.
So I just get back to being a bit more like that, because I really used to enjoy that.
Yeah. I think that's it. It's having different personalities. You know, when you look at that, like Misfits boxing, like I said, I don't massively follow it, but I know they're all from like TikTok and stuff like that, and they're all quite different. And not, you would spot them in the sense of like personality wise, they're all just different and out there and all stuff like that. Whereas I think in boxing, sometimes I think people try and play like the nice person quite a lot, funny enough, in boxing, especially in women's boxing, you find it more. And I get they are very supportive of one another, and I suppose you have to be. It's a smaller, I suppose, community in that sense. But yeah, sometimes I think like ruffle some feathers and have like do something different. Like you say with Sandy Ryan, she did have this massive like attitude, but it worked. And like she said, it's quite, I think she said in the interview with yourself actually, where it was like a way for her to switch and get into like fight mode. And we do have like the, you know, Katie Taylor. I mean, are you ever going to hear Katie Taylor talk bad about someone? No. Amanda Serrano probably never will talk bad about someone. That's fine. But then I think if you're a boxer, like kind of struggling to get noticed, I think you're just going to have to come out your shell a bit and just do something quite different. Elham Mekhaled walked out in a red ball gown. I'll always remember that. If you don't watch boxing, but you see that, that's something that you might remember. You know, it's doing little things like that, I think, to just make yourself relevant and to get your name out there, that probably isn't happening, is it? And part of that is down to promotion, I think, sometimes, though. But I think boxers will have to, I think that's something, if you look at influence boxing, I think, why is this selling? That I think that's got to be the main reason, because it's not the quality of fights, is it?
No, obviously, yeah, you know, yeah. But what gets me is that there is the audience there. So we need to get that tapped into, because there's people out there that would love watching the sport that don't realise it.
Yeah. Because then I was thinking about this, like, because like I said before, I'm not convinced. One, I was like, I wonder if it increases participation. I wonder if there's kids watching, because obviously a lot of the influencers on it, not all of them obviously, but you know, like KSI and that, he caters to kids, doesn't he? He's got that mad drink out and stuff like that, where they're all like queuing 7 hours to get it. I wonder if any of them have like taken up boxing, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, has it increased participation? Because that'd be amazing. That's worth it. Still not overly convinced whether it's increased like engagement for fans. And I was like, I wonder how you could do that. And the only way I could think of really is, would someone be brave enough, for instance, we'll use Eddie Hearn and Matchroom as an example, to put like an influencer bout like on the middle of a card to try and get their fans buying tickets to a full show. The issue then I've got with that is then you're crossing it over and it just becomes...
I think that's where people are going to have an issue, because it's that lines where people don't realise what's the influencer sort of entertainment and what's real. And I think that's when it's dangerous, when they're crossing the lines, because then you've got people thinking that they're like this amazing stuff when they're not, because they're up against other influencers. But it's an interesting thought, because if you're thinking of it from the fan point of view and from a business point of view, it does make sense.
Yeah, I mean, if I was like, you know, if you run a professional company, I would be sitting there scratching my head thinking, how am I getting all those 20,000 people who have just watched KSI and whoever was fighting, how am I getting them to my show? Because I've sat, like I said before, I've sat in the O2 and it's been like quiet at times for certain fights, and then it's been sold out for like Shields Marshall. But then I've seen, for instance, Chantel Cameron, Mary McGee, and it was such a good fight, and it was like half full.
Yeah.
And
because like, what about that? I keep going back to that Wasserman show that was in Liverpool, where Chloe Watson just stole the night.
Saved the day, thank goodness.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, imagine that they'd had a KSI type on there.
That's what I mean. You know, if you struggle, like, because I mean, that Wasserman boxing was, was it Wasserman boxing? Wasn't it? Because Chloe was on it, so yeah, it was. That Liverpool show, God love them. I can't imagine they made a lot of money on that, and that's what I mean. Like, what are you doing wrong for that not to sell? Especially in Liverpool, like with such a big boxing city, that should sell all the time. It's not even a big arena, to be fair. So yeah, it's just. But again, on Wasserman boxing, when you looked at, I can't quite remember who's on the card, but when you look at them, like, do people know who they are? Like we do, you know what I mean? Like, and fair play to Chloe. A lot of people knew who Chloe was after that fight, who tuned in because she stole the show, and that's what she needs to do. I know we'll talk about her in a minute, but yeah, it's a shame. I think you think that there needs to be something now. In this way, I think it needs to be more of a joint effort now, where you've got people on the card. You've got to just figure out how to like get them out there, not just put them on the card and be like, right, that's it. Let's hope people buy tickets, because they didn't for that show at all. I wouldn't even say it was like a quarter full. It was quite poor.
Yeah. I mean, even if they bring them in, like, could we get KSI in to do some sort of...
He's expensive.
Yeah.
He's just making billions on some energy drink. He'll be an expensive guy.
Like, we even just come in and do some sort of punditry, you know, that kind of thing in the studio. But even just doing something like that.
Kind of like Saudi Arabia done last night, where they've got Derek Chisora as like their person to kind of, you know, promote boxing, and then they've probably paid Mike Tyson to come out, and then they had Ronaldo. Do you know? I don't think Mike Tyson, as much as he likes boxing, I don't think he's went out on his own free will. I think he was paid to go. You know, and there was quite a few, and again that gets it talking. You know, how many clips was of bloody Cristiano Ronaldo just sitting there looking bored to tears, God love him, with his son. He was just on his phone. He looked bored. He was like, "Oh, I want to go home."
Probably his son that wanted to go, I reckon.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But you know, that helps because they're there, so people are like, oh, what's Cristiano Ronaldo done? So, you know, it's not that easy. You're not going to be able to do that for every show, but I think, you know, I think that definitely has to be where, yeah, it has to be a separate entity. But I think some place, you know, Queensbury, Matchroom, Boxer a little bit need to look at them and think, what are they doing right? Not just completely disregard it, like, because it's shit. Because we know the quality of boxing shit, but the business side, they're doing something right. But I personally still will not be tuning in to watch any of it. I don't know about yourself.
No, I mean, I didn't watch any of it over the weekend. None of it. So it's not my cup of tea. But again, like I'm not knocking it for what they're doing because they're doing something right, you know.
Yeah, I think
like,
once you're a boxing fan, I do think it's hard to go that way to watch it. But again, I don't know any of them. I think it's a different
yeah,
generation. I think if I knew them, maybe I'd be more interested, maybe. And I think that's the point, like, because we don't know them. We're like, I'm not going to watch it. Maybe that's what those type of fans are like. Well, I don't know who. I don't know. Sandy Reiner, so I'm not going to tune in.
Yeah.
Someone's just put this, so maybe the next gen of boxers will have better social media game. Like Ella Joyful Thompson, she's only 12, I think. I hope so, but I'm surprised that some who have signed over to, I'm going to use Lauren Price and Karriss Artingstall as an example. I thought they'd be like all over the shop, like on TV and very active on social media and stuff like that, and they've not been.
No, they've been away from it, if anything.
Yeah. So
and I've heard it's because it's to do with Team GB. Whether that's true or not, but that's what shows Team GB and the way that they get their fighters social media savvy. They tell them to be very careful, and they control a lot of their social, their interviews and who gets access to them. So I think they're wary, so that then when they turn over pro, they're very wary of everyone, especially all these little sort of boxing sites like myself or someone messaging them saying, "Can I have an interview?" They don't like that.
Yeah.
I understand why, but I think that's where that's coming from. I don't know.
Yeah, which again is a shame because then you're breeding the same culture, which isn't quite working then. But yeah, you would hope the younger generation coming through are a little bit better at it. But yeah, for me, it's just super, super important. But yeah, I don't think I'll be tuning in anytime soon. However, my mind has changed drastically from when it first started. So who knows? I could be like the biggest fan, getting like front row tickets every weekend and watching it. But at the minute, it's a no from me. But I do think we will see an influencer become a world champion one day.
But obviously, you're willing to be in there and get paid the thousands to go and fight.
Yeah, too right. I've got. I don't care. I mean, I won't watch it, but if someone wants to pay me a few thousand, I'll happily go in. I'll be an influencer journeywoman. I don't care. There's no pride over here. You're gonna pay me. I'll do it.
I mean, you're going to be better than the ones that were co-main, surely.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when I saw that clip, I was like, come on. I wasn't even doing anything that night. It's like, I know I've got dodgy wrist and torn muscles, but I was like, I still could have done something better than that. So anyone listening who wants to pay me. Actually, so remember I showed you someone did reach out and ask me, would I do a fight at the end of March? There was no price on it though, so I said no. I'm not getting back in shape for free. That is not happening. So we'll move on from that, but I'm going to move on actually to Michaela Mayer, just kind of talking about like self-promotion and stuff like that. Michaela Mayer has just announced today that she is now a part of OnlyFans. So there's a cool little promo that they've done. I liked it. So I think she promoted it as a way of having more of an insight to like her training and stuff like that, and kind of like get to know her a little bit more. So what are your thoughts on that?
Great. Anything that makes people, the boxers make money, and more for it. Why not? I think it's great that lots of them are doing it. I think people need to forget that the OnlyFans is just for porn. It's not now. You can see that Sinistra Estrada, lots of the sports stars, MMA stars, lots of them are coming over to OnlyFans. A lot of it isn't even not even risque photographs. A lot of it is just the sports stars literally, like you say, doing the sparring, doing backstage stuff they're not going to social media. It is just sports stuff. So I think OnlyFans is trying to get into more of that kind of market. And so, I mean, why not? And I think it's great.
Money. Well, that's what OnlyFans was when it first started. I'm sure Beyonce was one of the first to do it, and it was literally a way for people like Beyonce to give access to kind of like fans, what she wouldn't post on social media. But it was nothing, like you say, it was nothing risque. It was like I don't know because I didn't sign up, but it was just more like about her life, I suppose, and maybe like brushing her teeth or whatever. But it was stuff like that, and obviously then it moved to the way it did, and it was a way for people to come, like like you say, porn stars to make money and stuff like that. And now I feel like they're trying desperately and successfully to go back to what it used to be. And it is such a good way for people. If you are a fan of someone, for Michaela Mayer, I'm going to ask her, like, if she's going to be putting pictures of her renovation on and videos, I am signing up straight away because, or, views from her house. Have you seen it? It's a joke.
Be signing up straight away.
Oh, I'm signing up without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, but I love all stuff like that. And it is a great way. Like, I don't know how much she's charging. But it is a good way, if you are a fan of someone, to get more of an insight of them. And again, like we've been saying, that's how your fans are going to have even a bigger connection. And that's how you kind of spread the word. And something like OnlyFans is quite different. But we're seeing a lot of boxes, like you say, it's all on people's T-shirts now, isn't it? Like when they're promoting it. But yeah, exciting. She's one of, like I say, I think there's quite a few jumping on it now, isn't there?
And like I say, I love the way Michaela actually puts herself across, her personality. Because I really feel like she gives an essence of her. Like she does she doesn't take herself seriously at all, and I love that. She does like little videos of her being silly with her boyfriend and with Ginny, and I've got to know Ginny through it.
Yes,
I know Ginny through that and that little friendship as well, which has been nice. So yeah, if we could have more of that from more people, I think it would just, again, it's using that social media. I think it's great. It can only be a great thing.
Yeah, I think it makes a world of difference. Like you say, you feel like you start to get to know them, don't you, from like social media, and then you're following their journey, and then you're following them through camp, and then think of that like connection people will feel when Michaela May, I think she put at the end, kind of watch her journey back to becoming a world champion. And if she, even if you're watching kind of her like her training, her, don't know if she'll do clips of sparring, potentially like little clips, but you're seeing the proper work that's going in it. Then you're going to follow it through to the end, I suppose, aren't you? You're not just seeing, I mean, Michaela Mayer never really does this, but you're not just seeing it pop up on the scales and being like, oh, she's fighting on Saturday. You're really watching the journey from start to end. So I love stuff like that. And I really hope she's going to be doing some videos of a house.
And how cute is Coach Al? We always say this. So hopefully there's lots of
Al. Remember the saddest thing in when we were at the O2, and obviously we were backstage, and poor Michaela Mayer come out, and she just kind of obviously walked off to her changing rooms, obviously keeping it together. And then poor Coach Al, do you remember when he just walked and he just looked just broken, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, he's gonna make me cry. And then he followed it in, but he was just like a broken man. God love him, but he's just super cute, Coach Al, isn't he?
Yeah.
They've got the best relationship. I think, God, they've worked together a long, long time now, haven't they? So I hope Coach Al will be on her OnlyFans.
Yeah.
That is worth the money then. Definitely you've got to sign up. That's worth twice as much if you get Coach Al. So that's on her social media. So something new, something exciting. Right, we will have a quick chat about, there's been a couple of fights announced, so we will talk about Lauren Price. She's 2-0, probably not being as active maybe as I thought she would have been. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't know if it's because she's going to focus on going to Paris 2024 Olympics, or whether they're just taking the time with her, or what it is really. But what's interesting is that this fight is in Paris, and I'm thinking, is this to, quite nice because she's going to go fight there next year for the Olympics? It kind of gives a kind of like feel for being in Paris, or that audience in Paris, or is it just there's a space there and she's going to do it?
Well, no, because they did mention when they sent out like the fight announcement and the press release, they did mention the fact that it was in Paris, and they mentioned all of that with Lauren. So I feel like that's not being an accident. I feel like she was purposely placed on that card. So that is March 11th. So is that 2 weeks away? Week and a half away? 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks away.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think her opponent, she should, I think it does seem like a bit of a step up for an opponent, but I think Lauren should nicely win. It should be reasonably straightforward for her.
Yeah, her opponent is Naomi Mans. Hope I'm saying that right. She is 6-1. Now, her only loss come in her last fight, where she challenged for the EBU title against Bavo.
Yeah.
That was her only loss. And, we like Bavo. She's good. So, no shame to losing to her. So, and it was 93-97 on 2 of the cards. So competitive fight. And another judge had it 99-91. I personally don't think I've seen that fight yet. Yeah, like I say, I think Lauren will win. And potentially, a bit of a step up, but I think she'll come through.
Yeah.
But a decent opponent.
Yeah.
I think there's easier options out there, so I like it as an opponent.
Yeah.
It's the right step up. I'm sure people will criticize. God love her, because if she has to just jump up straight away.
Yeah.
I feel like I think she's been heavily criticised in especially her debut fight.
Yeah.
And I thought she was brilliant. I loved that fight. I said the night was my favourite kind of fight for someone making their debut. So I suppose that's the problem when you're coming in as a gold medalist.
Yeah.
You've got high expectations.
And the way that boxers have been building her up, I guess, that's what's going to be the fallout from that.
But I think she's doing great. I mean, I'd love for her to be more active, like you say, if the plan is for her to go back to the Olympics.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be that active, because I suppose she's going to have to kind of restart anyway. In my opinion, I think it's just too hard to go from amateur back to pro straight away. I think that's the problem. She's going to have to go. She doesn't want to move up the ladder too quick, because when she comes back from amateurs, I think she'll need a couple of fights against these type of opponents again.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's the plan. But yeah, so March 11th, she's fighting in France. Looking forward to that. I feel like there's not too many cards in France, is there?
No, it's been quite interesting, won't it?
Looking forward to that. Today on Instagram, Chloe Watson announced that she is fighting the 24th of March in Bolton on Wasserman Boxing Show. Didn't get much on her opponent, but Chloe Watson is 4-0. Like we said before, she stole the show. I think the last 2 times she's saved the show at Wasserman Boxing. I don't know who's on the card, because she just kind of announced hers and it's not on BoxRec yet. But we look forward to Chloe Watson, don't we? We like watching her.
Yeah. No, I think it's nice. I think she's in quite a nice position, really, in being Wasserman. It's not huge promotion, so she can come under the radar a little bit, get these fights under her belt, get her ring time, creep up slowly, and then suddenly announce herself when she's ready, I think.
Yeah. And like you say, it's a perfect balance, because it is televised. So she's got that nice thing of people know who she is, but it's not this huge platform, or like Lauren, who's getting heavily criticised when she's doing a fantastic job. Chloe, she can just plod along, like you say, when she's ready. I think she will burst onto the scene.
Yeah.
And it'll be a case of like, where's she come from? Even though she's been saving Wasserman Boxing all year, last year. So she hasn't burst out from nowhere. But I always look forward to watching Chloe box. And obviously with she's got a good team around her as well, of course.
Such a great.
Yeah. So I look forward to that. Like I say, it's in Bolton. It's on the Friday, but I've not seen the rest of the card, but I might go up.
Hopefully it's on Channel 5 or something.
Believe it is. So on the poster, it did say Channel 5. My issue with Wasserman Boxing is they never release a fight schedule on the day. So you never know what time it's starting. Sometimes bits are on YouTube. Sometimes it's on Channel 5. And then you've got the main event with fights followed.
Yeah. So she might become main event again.
Yeah, where obviously she ended up being after the main event, which was a bit of a shocker. And she was main event, wasn't she? Everyone that was there stayed, everyone watched. And do you remember just Twitter was flooding, wasn't it, with compliments? So I would do that. Because, yeah, they've just got, I don't know, it's like they keep it a secret. It's like they don't want people to watch, because it's impossible to find out who's fighting at what time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Is a bit.
I don't even think the fighters know sometimes. I think they probably got to be like wrapped up at 3 p.m. just waiting to go on at any point.
Warm up the whole night.
Yeah, they'll probably be drained. No wonder they were all shit that night, because they were probably exhausted. But yeah, so it's hard. I would say we tweet out information, but they keep it a secret, so I don't know. Just tune in that day because she's always worth watching, Chloe Watson. I'm looking forward
she's
to that.
definitely worth. You won't regret watching Chloe Watson.
Yeah, she is so good. Definitely a future world champion, I'd say personally. And then we've got Karriss Artingstall.
Yes.
I always feel like when one of them, like Lauren, had a fight announced, I was like, Karriss will be fighting in a few weeks. Which she is. So she fights on the 25th of March in a domestic clash.
I was quite surprised at this matchup, actually. I quite like it.
I like it. I really like it. I saw it on Lindsay's Facebook, actually. It was the first I'd seen it. I was like, no way, what a fight. I like it. So Lindsay is 4-1, so just one loss. And obviously Karriss is 2-0 as well. I think decent fight. I love a domestic fight as well. Love them. I think we need to see more of them.
Lindsay is the first area champion. I can't remember which area. Is it South or North or Midlands? It's one of the areas.
I can't name them all, Suzy. One of them, then.
She's an area champion.
She is. Yeah, I actually can't remember which one.
The first
myself.
Of that area, whichever area it was.
Yeah, she is. But yeah, because I remember that. But and I think her only loss was to Jay Taylor, if I remember correctly. He was a great fighter as well. So looking forward to this. I think nice little fight for Karriss. And oh, thank you, Jack. It's central area. She is.
There we go. Thank you.
Jack knows his stuff. Well done.
It's not north, west, south.
The one you didn't. So the one Suzy didn't say. That's what she is. But no, I like this fight. Like I said, I love domestic clash. Be a nice little. It's a step up for Karriss, and definitely a step up. So I like this fight. I think Karriss will come through it, but it's a tough fight.
Always love seeing Karriss in the ring. Just that viciousness in this fight, and those body shots. She better be preparing for those body shots, Lindsay.
Karriss is exciting to watch, definitely. And like you say, she is ruthless. She needs to be in the featherweight division because it's a stacked division. So this is what Karriss needs to have, something slightly different in the sense of she does pack some power, doesn't she? I'm really, really looking forward to this. Like I said, I do think Karriss will come through, but Lindsay will not make it easy at all for her. Lindsay's a very, very good fighter, and I'm glad she's got a big platform now to kind of showcase her skills, because you never know what will happen after. Also, she could get the upsets, but regardless, I think you never know what's going to happen when you're on a big platform like that. Really, really looking forward to that. So there's a couple that have kind of like been drip fed, haven't they, of being announced over the last couple of weeks. A few weeks ago, because obviously we've not done a live for a while, we had Terri Harper was announced, and of course she's fighting Cecilia Braekhus.
Huge fight.
So excited. So excited. What
a fight. I mean, when we're trying to think of different opponents for everyone, I mean, this is right up there with one of the biggest fights she can actually make, and can't wait to see this one. I mean, obviously, I feel like Terri, in my opinion, Terri's going to win, but I feel it's because a little bit that Cecilia as well is sort of like we don't really know where she's at, do we? Obviously, she's a legend of the sport. She's completely she was undefeated for a long time until obviously McCaskill came on. I think she's had one more fight come back, has she, Braekhus?
She fought in December, so obviously she wanted to make a return, I think, mid last year, and then it was like getting cancelled, and then J-Lo was getting married, and then it was just bloody J-Lo and Ben Affleck threw a spanner in the works, as you do regularly. That's obviously why boxing events are cancelled so often. And then something else happened. She was meant to be fighting. Was it Braekhus she was meant to fight?
Who, sorry?
Patricia Braekhus.
Yeah, she was meant to be in the sort of the whole mix, wasn't she?
Yeah, and then something happened with that, didn't it? And then obviously Tasha got that fight. So she just had a bit of a shocker, just could not. So I think she's wanted to make a comeback for quite a while. She then did eventually make a comeback in December.
So I feel like we don't really know her level of where she's going to be at. If she goes back to where she was at, I mean, it's going to be a tremendous fight. But if she's on the slide, I think it could end up being quite an easy night for Terri. But we'll see. I mean, it's Braekhus. I mean, what despite the sport, can't really complain about that.
Yeah, you can't write her off. I mean,
no.
I wrote some stuff down because obviously I wasn't going to remember off the top of my head. So obviously we've got Terri Harper, whose record is 13 wins, 1 draw, which comes to Tasha Jonas, and obviously the 1 loss where she lost to super featherweight against Alicia Baumgardner in 2021. Now you got Cecilia Braekhus has got 37 wins and 2 losses. Now obviously the 2 losses both come to Jessica McCaskill. And I was like, gosh, she was champion for a long time. So when I looked on BoxRec, she won her first world title in 2009. Cecilia then become undisputed in 2014. This is all before Terri Harper had even turned pro. I didn't think Terri wasn't even boxing at this point, obviously, was she? Because she just left the sport for a long time. And she had 26 successful title defenses. Before losing to Jessica McCaskill. We think, she was just incredibly dominant in the sport, and obviously her name is the First Lady for a reason.
She had the Guinness World Record or something, didn't she? For
I think, yeah.
For a while, and was she still got it? I'm not sure. Or is it
Choi? I was literally gonna. I think Choi's got that record probably, but we're not talking about her. Actually, we will talk about her in a minute. And then obviously, do you remember the mega fight was always rumored to, supposed to be Katie Taylor, Cecilia Braekhus, and it just never evolved. And it shows if you don't take your opportunity, it goes quickly because Jessica McCaskill spoiled that party. So it's just, I just like this fight a lot, and also credit to Terri Harper because this is a voluntary title defense. She didn't have to pick Cecilia Braekhus as her first title defense. I don't think many fighters would do that. Obviously, she wanted undisputed with Tasha. It's not happening. There were other options she could have taken. So credit for that because, she is a legend of the sport. Cecilia Braekhus, all of them figures speak for themselves. Not an easy fight. There would have been easier fights out there. Yeah. So I'm excited for, like I say, we don't know a ton about Cecilia Braekhus at the minute because of how inactive she's been.
Yeah.
But I think that could make her dangerous in the sense of this is her last opportunity. She doesn't win this. That's it. She won't be getting another world title opportunity.
Yeah.
So that makes her dangerous in that sense. And she's so experienced. Like I say, she'd won world titles before Terri had turned pro. Yeah. So she's so experienced. So not going to write her off. However, I have Terri Harper winning. And no, I'm not going to. No, I was going to say I could even see a stoppage. You know what I'm like? I do love a stoppage. I actually think we could see a stoppage.
Yeah.
In round 9.
The first person to knock her down was Kaylee Reese, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah. And arguably, Kaylee Reese beat her that night. Have you watched that fight?
I have watched that fight.
Your thoughts? It was close.
It was very close. Yeah, I'd give it to Kaylee. Which is a shame. A shame. But, yeah. And I think the thing with Cecilia is if you potentially actually watch that fight and you watch the 2 Jessica fights, I think you can see how you can beat Cecilia Braekhus. She, if you look at how Jessica fought her, where she just kept coming forward, she just didn't like it. She was just did not like being overwhelmed. Now, obviously, that isn't how Terri boxes. No. But it'll be interesting to see kind of, because Cecilia's not being super active, it'll be interesting to see what her fitness is like, what her engine is like, because Terri can drain people because of how good her movement is. And because she makes people kind of follow her and chase her down. So it'll be interesting to see if Cecilia can keep up with that for 10 rounds. And that's why I've got a bit of a feeling we could see a late stoppage there.
Yeah, because that's what she was always so good at, wasn't she, Braekhus, is that her fitness, her fighting on the back foot kind of really, boxing. So it will be quite interesting because that's the kind of thing as you get that bit older, that slides, doesn't it? So
and I feel like Terry's better at that than Cecilia now. So Cecilia will have to kind of follow Terri around, I think, and that she doesn't like that. And then what I thought Terri done quite well at times was then switch it up and kind of create that angle to come in and dig into the body, which she's done quite well against Hannah, I thought, especially early on. And I just remember against Jessica McCastle, she just didn't like being like kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It was like that was one of the first fight, take away probably the Kaylee Reese fight actually, where Cecilia wasn't getting her own way. And it was like she couldn't switch it up because she'd been so used to for all them years dictating the pace and dictating the game plan. That was like the first time for the whole 10 rounds where Jessica was like, I'm doing it my way and you're going to do it with me. And she just didn't like it. So I think if Terri just does what she does best, because she can outbox Cecilia, I think, it'll be Cecilia who'll have to mix it up. And I don't think she likes that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
However, though, I'm still, like I say, I'm going to bet on a late stoppage for Terri, but I'd never, ever, ever write Cecilia Braekhus off because she's a living legend for a reason. And like you say, she's dangerous because this is her last opportunity to become a 2-weight world champion. And then you don't even know if she beat Terri Harper and she becomes a world champion. That opens doors for her. For these bigger fights if she doesn't win this, because this opens the door for Tasha Jonas, undisputed.
Yeah.
Because that was obviously, they were a little bit more between Tasha and Terri to get the fight. So she knows if she beats Terri, she's got undisputed.
And then you can't write her off in as such as that she's such a professional. She's a real athlete, isn't she? Whenever she trains. I mean, we've seen her up in, she's been in America at Big Bear, isn't she? All that. Dubai, I think I've seen her. She travels all over to do major training camps. So she's very dedicated still.
Definitely. Yeah. And when I'm like saying about her fitness, it's definitely not like from lack of effort and like lack of, like, she was probably in camp all of last year waiting for a fight. I just think, unfortunately age does catch up on you. Suzy, you'll know more than me. No, I actually can't remember. Is Cecilia 41? I don't want to say her age in case I got it wrong. I think she's about 41 now when I read it. Jack, if you're still watching, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I do just think age catches up on you. And Terri Harper is super, super fit as well. So you're playing it tough there, I think. But it's a fight that I'm very, very excited for. Now, it is meant to be the 29th of April in Sheffield. However, that hasn't like officially been announced. Just the actual fight is being announced. With Dalton Smith on the card, who I believe is headlining. And I was like, oh. I thought Terri and Cecilia would headline personally. I don't know. I just thought that was like a fact, but I don't know. And Dalton got a cut in his last fight, so I don't know if that plays an issue to why it's not being announced. I might get pushed back. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it's like with Matchroom. I do feel like they shy away slightly from having the females headline more than perhaps other promotions. I mean, maybe that's unfair because they have done the big Madison Square Gardens big fights.
I know what you mean. Like when Terri and Hannah fought, they were co-main, and then the main event pulled out. So you would think naturally that would bump up to headline, but it didn't. That fight kind of come. And I even think with this, like Dalton Smith, great fighter, obviously, but it's not a huge fight that he's in. Nothing compared to the Terri Cecilia fight, in my opinion. So it is what it is. And thank you, Jack. 41. I was right.
There we go.
So, it's a big age difference. So I think what's Terri, like 26 or something? So
yeah, even younger. I don't know, but yeah,
like 20. She must be like 25, 26. She isn't, because you forget how young she is for what she's already achieved in boxing. It's crazy, actually. So yeah, that could be a slight issue. But I'm very excited for it, and it'll be competitive.
And Steffi's went onto Instagram or somewhere to say about how many tickets she's already sold for this fight. And you just think, he said something like 700 tickets or something.
Wow.
Well, yeah, she should be headlining, shouldn't she? Come on, 700 tickets.
Yeah, she's a massive ticket seller. I mean, I'm quite shocked that I thought she was headlining actually, and then I read that it was Dalton, and I was like, I don't know if I just presumed she was because I think she should. I don't know, but for me, that fight's just so much bigger than Dalton Smith. In that fight, it's just not a huge fight for Dalton Smith. That one, and I say she's a huge ticket seller.
Yeah.
Terri Harper, she's got massive support. So, but if she's not headlining this one, her time will come. She'll be in even bigger fights as well, where she will be headlining. So the time will come for that, I suppose. But I think the fight is the most important thing. And like I say, it's meant to be the 29th of April, but it's not officially being announced. But sometimes they're a little bit last minute with announcing fights, which stresses me out with hotels and tickets and but yeah, really, really looking forward to that one. And excited when that comes through because I wasn't convinced it would. I think I even said on the live, I think the fight will happen, but later in the year. You know what? I'm never wrong normally. I'll take that one on the chin. Someone who was supposed to fight Terri Harper a while back, Heather Hardy. She fought on Friday.
Yeah.
Was it Friday? Or was it Thursday?
I think it's Friday.
Was it? Okay. You know what I'm like. It was Thursday or Friday because I feel like it was like a random day.
Pretty sure it's Friday.
Yeah.
I'd have to check. Jack.
Jack, do us a favour. No, but yeah, but either way, Heather Hardy kind of like made not necessarily return, but she's been out a little bit. She's not had the best of times probably since COVID, has she, Heather Hardy?
No.
She obviously couldn't fight in COVID. She was very open and honest about the struggles and like financial struggles she had during COVID. Because obviously she couldn't box, can't earn. I think she's a PT as well, isn't she? Gyms were closed in New York. So she just had an absolute nightmare. Come back, fought Jessica Kamara, didn't she? Lost.
Yeah.
I think Jessica's such a good fighter, though. Very underrated fighter, Jessica Kamara. So that was a big fight to come back to, in all fairness.
Was after all that to come back to. And
Yeah, and I think she'd mentioned about the weight because she'd gained a bit of weight in COVID, hadn't we all? But so, I think she'd said about, having to come down, and I think it just, stars in the line for her there. But she fought and she won on it was a majority decision, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was 78, 74, 75, 77, 75, and then one judge had it a draw at 76, 76.
And I saw Amanda Serrano tweeting about this because she wants to give Heather Hardy a shot at the world titles, which I presume would be back at feather. Which can Heather come down to feather? I don't know. But what I was going to say is that there we go, Thursday. Thanks, Jack. What I would say, I watched it and said that she felt like it shouldn't have been a majority decision. Heather clearly won it.
And who said that?
Amanda Serrano.
Wow! So she would have another fight with.
Yeah, she wants to give her a shot. She's been on Twitter.
Stop.
Because she says that I think she respects the fact that Heather was a pioneer in the sport. She's given her sport and she deserves another shot at it. So she wants to give her that shot. So she keeps saying to her she's going to give her a shot. And at first I thought, maybe she means when she's confident she's going to win the belts at lightweight, and then she'll give Heather a shot at lightweight the belts. Because
would Heather make featherweight again?
And then Heather made a comment saying, I'll have to work on my weight to get back down to featherweight.
Yeah, I don't know if she'd make featherweight again.
When she's been off weight for so long. But I would love to see her have another world title shot. But it's where and against who.
Yeah, I mean, that fight for me, I think you done a post actually the other day on the Women's Fight News account of kind of what fight made you like fall in love with the sport. And obviously I was like fairly late to watching boxing, and there was like fights I'd watched before that got me into it, but that was the fight that I was hyped for, where like I got up on my own. It was like 4 a.m. I remember sitting in where I was living at the time in the living room. I was like freezing, like I'd be dressing gown on just to watch that fight. And I'll never forget the first round. I was like, oh my God, like Amanda Serrano's going to knock her out. And then it went the distance. And I loved that fight. And then they had a bit of beef after that, didn't they?
They did.
Because, but it come out, I think it was something to do with the periods or something. She was taking something, Heather Hardy, wasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, Heather did take something she shouldn't have done. But it got proven that she didn't do it intentionally to cheat. it was for a reason, but she did get penalised for it.
Yeah, but it wasn't to like enhance her performance or anything like that. So it was all fine, like in that sense. But yeah, you know what? Would I like to see that fight again? I mean, yeah, but in a way, like back in time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if Heather could make that weight, and then. But I love the fact that Amanda would like. Could that be Amanda's last fight? Amanda, Heather Hardy, number 2. You know, both from New York, but
that would be nice.
Be like a nice farewell type of thing, wouldn't it? Even if it's not for a world title.
Yeah.
It's a platform, because I know Heather Hardy wants one more shot, but I don't know who against, because it's not going to be Katie Taylor.
No.
At lightweight. I don't know. Can she make super feather? Can she make feather? I don't know. And then the only other option you've got, I mean, is Chantel Cameron at super light, but then that just, no, it's a no from me. You've got Estelle with the IBO, but that wouldn't be a big platform. I think what she's really wanting is that one last crack at the title on a big platform. She doesn't want to be doing it on a Thursday night type of thing.
And I love the fact Amanda wants to give her that platform, because she feels that, like you say, it's back to that fight that they had. They're both in it together. They've both been slogging away for all those years, trying to change the sport, equality and all that. And then Serrano's had a big break, had all this money, and I think she feels bad for Heather, who was there with her through that, and wants to give her a bit of the pie, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think that's completely correct, and like fair play to Amanda as well. But yeah, I would love that. I think I would like that fight. Maybe I'd like to see it maybe more of a catch weight. I'm not bothered about the belts, just more the platform.
Yeah,
I'd love to see them at the Hulu Theatre headlining. They both sold a ton of tickets when they fought the first time round. They'd easily do it again and give Heather a biggest payday, because she's just been unbelievable for the sport, and been very shortchanged in her career. I think it's such a shame how she has been treated. But I think she'll stick around the boxing for a long time and hopefully help those coming through. Make sure probably the same doesn't happen to her, because she's been incredibly undervalued. And for me, she's one of the toughest people to have entered the ring. Like, she's unreal.
All that blood when she broke her nose. Oh. Yeah, she's just a tough girl.
I love that picture. I think that's still like her pinned on Twitter, isn't it? Where she's like dead glam going on a night out or wherever she's off to, and then that way like her nose is busted and there's just blood everywhere. Jack, who knows he is the info guy tonight, he has heard Cameron wants that fight, but I want her versus Serrano as a goodbye. I don't know if I want the Chantel Heather fights. No, I would be excited for that. I would. I'm lying.
What fight does Cameron want? She wants Amanda Serrano or Heather Hardy? Which one? What does that mean? I've heard Cameron wants that fight.
But I want her versus Serrano as a good
fight. I feel like Cameron's too big.
That's what I mean. If Heather was obviously she's a natural featherweight. Yeah, he means Heather Hardy.
But I feel like Cameron's too big for Serrano. Even.
Oh, I'd just never write Amanda Serrano off. I can't.
No, I wouldn't. But I
know what you mean. Well, I mean, Amanda didn't like lightweight though. I know she's a 7-weight world champion, but she doesn't like it. She makes so super light a bit too much.
Too much of a weight difference for me. Even though I know Cameron is and likes the lightweight, and I know that obviously she's fighting a lightweight Serrano. I just still feel like they're coming at it from two different ends.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, with Heather Hardy, I would like her. Yeah, I would love her to have a big platform fight, at least one last time. And I think it would work out quite well of it being kind of Amanda Serrano in December, like the end of the year. I do think this genuinely could be both of their farewells in a way. But it all depends, because I mean, if we quickly talk about it, obviously May 20th, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, but Eddie Hearn is already planning Chantel Cameron, Katie Taylor in September. Now, I'm excited for, like, I want Chantal Cameron to have that opportunity. No one deserves that more. I can only imagine the planning that at super lightweight, because I'm sorry, you just can't go into a fight with Amanda Serrano planning for the fight after. That's just obscene.
Yeah, I can't see Katie fighting her at super light because she just didn't like being at super light.
But would they risk her belts at lightweight? Because Chantal Cameron's a 50-50 fight, as is Amanda.
Oh yeah.
Are they going to risk them belts going again?
Yeah.
I just,
if they're planning for lightweight, they can't look past Serrano. That's
what I mean.
Bad. And then, like you say, are they going to risk it against Chantal? Because all the way along the line, that's the whole reason why they've kept Chantal away, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. But I just don't think. I think it's very rude, and it's not Katie Taylor or anyone. But you've got to fight with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor.
Yeah.
Don't plan the September one with Chantal Cameron, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Even if it is a super lightweight fight, surely her focus would be on getting her belts back off Amanda by then.
Yeah. Shouldn't be thinking past
Which
it.
straight away makes me think, well, the only way Amanda's winning is knockout, because the scorecards are literally written today and they've booked Croke Park for September, because I just think that's just obscene.
Yeah.
That Croke Park, if and I understand that's what he wants in September, say it's either a potential trilogy with Serrano or Chantal Cameron, or I think he mentioned Alicia Baumgardner. Don't just because Chantal Cameron come out and said, yeah, they've been in talks about it, and great, but that's crazy.
Is it Croke Park as well? Are they going to go ahead with Croke Park for Serrano Taylor too? Is that still a no? Is it? I thought
it's a definite no. I believe it's a definite no.
Because I thought that McGregor was going to step in and save the day, but
yeah, I think there was another reason. I'm sure. I think something's on. Isn't the rugby on Croke Park that day? I'm sure there was another reason. And then he said about footing the bill, but then I also read that, yeah, he was going to give 500k, but obviously he'd want something in return. I think he wanted a percentage of something, of whether it was ticket sales or whether it was like the drink sales or something. He wanted like a quite high percentage of something in return. I only read that. I don't know how true that is. But yeah, I think I believe May 20th is 100% cannot be Croke Park.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't know. It's all a bit odd for me. They've still not announced a venue officially, so I'm refusing to book my my plane ticket till they, because I just think, could the date be changed?
Yeah, they might just suddenly say the O2 or something, mightn't they?
It's just
wouldn't surprise me, because if it's going to be that difficult, if they're not going to have Croke Park and it's not going to be this magnificent homecoming, then is there any point in even having it in a little venue there?
No, I think the problem is, I think me and Rack spoke about this, was if they do it smaller, it'll be classed as like quite an intimate venue, even though it'll still be like 18,000 or whatever, which for Katie Taylor's just tiny in Ireland.
Yeah.
But the ticket prices will be extortionate. So I feel like the issue we're going to have with that is it's really going to take away, even though, yeah, it's a homecoming, it's not in the sense of like, it's not going to be super accessible either, is it? But it's just all a bit strange for me. Like say, the venue's still not being announced, but the planning the September, which I just think's crazy. So we will have to see what goes on with that one. It's an odd one, but it's a 50-50 fight. So why? And I always think it's dangerous planning the fight after. I always bet against that then, because I think you can't. And it's not Katie Taylor; it's obviously everyone else in the business, but just too risky for me. That never ever go past Amanda Serrano. However, if it doesn't go Amanda's way, I would love to see Amanda Heather as both of their final fights, and then sail off into the sunset happy with a bit of money. Someone else who fought on Saturday.
Yeah.
Got it. Dina Thorson. I've not had a chance to watch this. I don't know if there was a link to watch it. I'm not too sure.
There wasn't a link and there was nothing. online yet, because I did ask for the Let's Go management, Lee Eaton's, who manages her, and he sent me some sort of link, and I could not for the life of me work it out because it was all in Danish.
Right.
So I gave up on that one and hoping that it was going to be on YouTube a few days later, but it's still not on there. But it was an 8th round TKO where I've heard that basically I think she complained of a clash of heads, the fighter, and then she refused to do that. Was it. She just didn't want to come back again. That's what I've heard.
I've had enough.
Yeah. I think it's something like that.
Right. Okay.
But powerful, again, another TK, another stoppage. So yeah, I just want to see her in bigger fights though. Great win for her in Denmark, home crowd. But this fighter was, she hasn't even fought at bantamweight before. She was a lower weight fighter. I want to see her against Luna. I mean, that's any disrespect against Dinah Thorson, because as far as I'm aware, her team have been trying their hardest to get that fight. But that's the fight I'd love to see.
Yeah, I mean, for me, she's probably the most dangerous in the division currently, I would say. There was rumours she was supposed to be fighting Lisa Whiteside, actually.
Yeah.
And then that fell through. It all just seems so difficult. Her only option currently to unify is Luna, because obviously Ebony Bridges is out injured, and I'm sure she'll want a little fight. Well, not a little fight, a regular size fight. When she comes back, because obviously that's a horrendous surgery and stuff she's had. So she'll want to, I'd imagine, a warm up fight as such before you go in the deep end unifying. And then obviously you've got Nina Hughes, Shannon Courtney, which is a bit obscene, but that fight is happening. So your only option to unify is Luna. And like you say, I don't think it's Dina Thorson who's going, I don't want that fight. So she's just in a bit of a sticky position, because then you do have quite high risk, low reward fights like Lisa Whiteside. Yeah. That's a high risk fight, and Lisa doesn't really bring anything to the table in that sense. So, which is a shame, because I'd love to have seen that fight. Yeah. I would have flew to Denmark to watch that fight. I really would have wanted to see it. So she's just in a bit of a funny position, isn't she, Dina Thorson, really?
Yeah, it's a shame. I think she would have had more options staying up at Super Bantam, to be honest. But let's hope that things start moving this year, because I think once fights start getting announced and some fights start happening, then hopefully we'll start seeing more.
And we are seeing where these fighters that are avoiding, for instance, Luna, I feel like is potentially avoiding Dina Thorson. We are seeing where they're getting forced to. If you look at Amanda Serrano, for instance, at featherweight, she was banging on the door for ages, and then finally got the Sarah fight, and then she finally got the Erica fight. So, I mean, obviously money talks in that sense, but whether Matchroom want to play a little part in that, because it's within their interest.
Yeah.
If they're eventually wanting someone undisputed within their, stable. They could play a little part in that potentially. But yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. It's a funny division, that, because I feel like there's loads of amazing fights that can happen.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just
not
happening. Yeah, it is. It's stuck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still waiting for Nina Hughes and Shannon Courtney to be announced, but I believe I think it was Instagram Live, Eddie Hearn said that fight is happening.
I'm kind of hoping it's going to be announced for Cardiff.
Ooh, when is that?
It's the 22nd of April.
Okay.
So I heard it was going to be sort of April time, so I was kind of hoping it would be. Well, I'm hoping all the female fights are going to be on the Cardiff card, to be honest. But I was hoping.
That's selfish. But what's Shannon doing? So, because is she in Dubai permanently? Have we worked out?
I don't know, because I saw in a story saying home to Dubai after she was in Saudi Arabia for the weekend. So maybe she's training out there now. I don't know.
Yeah, because she's not I don't know. Like, what is she doing? She's not that's what. I wonder, has she moved out there and that's where she's training now? Like you've just said, and so she's not with because she was at Adam Booth's gym, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I just don't know what she's up to.
Is that if a fight gets announced, she goes to a hotel and she locks herself in the hotel and stays there.
Yeah, well then,
like she did before.
Yeah, well that was my other thought. Is she just away at the minute? And then because she's not in camp.
Mm.
Or is she in camp and keeping this? I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Yeah. But I feel like she's not been in the UK for ages now.
Mm.
So I presume she's still training, but yeah.
Real loose cannon. So
no, I agree. But then I'm trying to think if I've seen Nina kind of hint that she's in camp. I know she's not in Dubai. She's just training. But I don't know if she's officially said she was in camp, so I don't know. I don't know, but my opinions on that fight. I just think it's I do think it's a bit ludicrous. I just think, why didn't Shannon just take another fight at the weight at 10 rounds?
Yeah,
she needs to bridge the gap fight desperately. I just think that they've underestimated Nina Hughes. That can be the only answer I don't know.
Yeah, being Jamie Mitchell, what's happened there? So
I would not underestimate Nina Hughes at all. She's such a good fighter. So risky. Yeah. Just a couple more. So we've got Sky Nicholson, who mentioned on a podcast, I think, she's currently trying to make a decision whether she goes for a world title or whether she focuses on the Olympics. And obviously, I believe if she's going to go the world title route, that she's not going the Olympics. So it's kind of, do I go back to amateurs, or am I just going to wash my hands with it and go as a pro? Now, we know, but we've got the same opinion, haven't we? We're not fans, are we, of pros going back to amateurs?
Yeah.
My only thing is, and I like Sky Nicholson, I think she's very good. I didn't particularly like her last performance. Everyone has allowed a bad day at the office. But when she's speaking about world titles, what world titles is she speaking about?
Yeah.
It cannot be a featherweight.
Yeah. Unless they become vacated.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? What is it? Because unless they do know something, like I say, I do believe Amanda Serrano will vacate eventually. I don't know if it's going to happen overnight. I don't know if she's going to wait for the Katie fight and kind of play it out then, because you're going to want to go into that fight as two undisputed champions.
Unless we're talking super feather, because they know that Alicia is going to vacate. Matchroom, within house.
Yeah. But then that's again, she's not even had a fight at that weight.
No.
So then, don't know if they're jumping the gun a little bit with Sky now. She had a very good start. She had a very good start to her career last year. It was really, really good and steady. It wasn't a great performance at all in New York. So I would look at that and kind of, and I understand you'll have bad nights, but it wasn't great, was it, in all fairness? So
maybe she's wording it badly in as much as she just needs to concentrate on one or the other, because the styles aren't so just, they're not going to match her. She needs to go all in on pro style, doesn't she?
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to presume she means, in the sense of, am I eyeing up a world title potentially at the end of the year, which I don't know. I think that's a bit soon for me, but yeah. Or, because like I was saying about Lauren Price, I suppose you don't want to move up the ranks too quick with these opponents. So maybe that's got to be her decision. Someone's put us Jack Super Bantam for Sky.
I'm just trying to think what belts are available for her though, because obviously they're going to be pitting her against Ellie Scottney, which I don't think they want to be doing.
No,
because they want Ellie Scottney to wipe up that division. And obviously there's belts tied up there, because you got Seguin trying to go back to belt.
I think they will keep her at featherweight. There's too many big fights in the future at featherweight for her to move out. I mean, the time is years away, but you've got Sky and Karriss, obviously, you're the big amateur thing, and you've obviously got Raven, you've got a couple of others. I think she'll stick at featherweight, and the titles will eventually become vacant at some point, and probably when she is ready. But I just don't think there needs to be a talk about a world title for Sky at the minute, because I think she should just forget the amateurs. It's been and gone. What happened happened. She was still a fantastic amateur. She was an Olympian. And just move on now. And she because I think it did show in the fight in New York that she probably needs to really commit to this pro style a little bit more now, and boost her confidence and go from there, rather than kind of be in between still.
Yeah.
So
it's hard for her though, because it's so personal, isn't it? The Olympics.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know. For me, I'm just a big believer. Is like she's done it. She's had the opportunity, and it doesn't always go your way. And it just is what it is, isn't it? At the end of the day, unfortunately. But she's been to the Olympics and she's done it.
Yeah, she has. And did you see Karriss when she commented after her last performance?
Oh no.
Building up a little bit of beef there, basically saying that she would, pummel her, basically. I can't remember what she exactly said, but so there's a little bit of beef there that's going to start brewing ever since obviously she knocked her out of the Olympics. And
yeah, that's a huge fight pending in the future, isn't it? So, but then I always wonder, like, is that part of it as well? Like, if Karriss is going back to the Olympics, does that sway her a little bit? I mean, they might not meet again, but I don't know. I would like Sky to just stick with pro boxing. I think she's got a nice style for it. She just needs to commit to it and obviously just keep moving up the ladder. I think she needs a very similar opponent to the New York opponent. When I say very similar, I mean an awkward opponent, I should say. I don't mean like we don't want to see that opponent again. God love her, because she was a right nightmare. She just kept running. It was terrifying. But I mean, like an awkward style, an unorthodox style. Yeah. She needs to be in with. Definitely not.
Someone she start fighting with, and yeah.
And then finally, we've got Sandy Ryan. Some rumors about her.
Yeah. So there's rumors that she might be getting a belt that might be vacated from McCann. So she might be going for some sort of world title, whether that's soon or in the future. I think one of the opponents that's rumoured is Layla McCarter, which people sort of new to women's boxing might not realise who she is, but she's, again, someone who's been around for years and years, who's been right at the top, who's been waiting for chances, waiting for these opportunities, and hasn't quite had them at this point in the boom of boxing. Again, it's a case of that for me. That'd be quite surprising if she took that fight, because it's quite high risk, low reward. Be quite a tricky opponent, very highly experienced, but nobody really knows her, and she's not bringing huge amounts to the table.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What? Because Jessica's has she vacated 2 belts now?
I don't know what's going on with it, because I thought it was just the one, and then suddenly this WBO is going to be vacated as well. So who knows what's going on with it, to be honest.
It's an interesting one, but yeah, I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it, for Sandy? I mean, there are quite big fights out there, but because Jessica's obviously been undisputed, there's so many great fighters, but like you say, they bring nothing to the table. And, you are risking a loss and then a win. I mean, don't get me wrong, a win will elevate you and, your stock rises and stuff, but you're not getting anything. So it is a tricky one. But, I don't know, does Sandy Ryan maybe need one more fight before we're going for a fight like that? Potentially? Because like you say, she's experienced, isn't she, Layla?
Oh, hugely experienced, yeah.
So, but I suppose who else could she go for? And, she's wanting that Chantal Cameron fight, isn't she? So I suppose, do if you're wanting Chantal soon, these are the fights you're going to have to take then, aren't they?
It's a tricky one, because I feel like Sandy's been pushed up the ranks too quickly, but then she's at this point now. Where do you go from here? Because she's just fought an amazing opponent, so she don't want to go back down.
Yeah.
But then there's not that many around. So yeah, I mean, it's tricky. Like you say, you want to be heading up.
Yeah, that's the problem, is if you get pushed on too quick, I suppose. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I could see her potentially fighting Jessica McCaskill at some point. And again, I don't think Jessica, I know I'm retiring everyone, but I don't think Jessica does have a long left. I feel like we're going to lose quite a lot of boxers. I feel like we're all retiring this year. But I feel like we could see that fight at some point, because again, that is the case of, if you are really considering Chantal Cameron, that's a potential fight to be made in the future. That would be a natural step, is Jessica McCaskill, before you would go to Chantal Cameron at some point.
unfortunately, with McCaskill having lost and then with losing her belt, she's going to be running out of options. So it'll be a nice money fight for her.
That's the thing, isn't it? She's in quite a funny position now, Jessica, and she said she didn't want the Chantal rematch. They want 2 or 3 fights, and then But then I was like, oh, that's many fights considering she's not being active. 2 or 3. You're probably not going to be in the position where Chantal would want the rematch then, because I think her career is really going to start to elevate now. And she's in camp, Chantal Cameron, and hopefully she'll have a fight announced soon. But yeah, funny one for Sandy Ryan, but I think she will I think she'll win a world title at the end of this year. But it's kind of doing it against the right people, I suppose, isn't it? Like, if you've got 2 vacant belts, it depends who's going for them. But Matchroom are very, very good at getting them vacant belts and picking some opponents. Be interesting. It will be interesting. Right, I think that's it as well for this week.
Yeah. So we've managed to talk about quite a lot considering not huge amounts happen, really.
No, hopefully a little bit more. Like I say, we're going into March now. There's quite a few shows up in March, and then April is really busy. And then obviously we've got the mega fight in May. I mean, there was rumours that Clarissa Shields, Tasha Jonas would be in April. I don't think that's happening, but there's still maybe a big fight for one of them too. So there could still be more April fights announced.
Yeah.
Like say, the super fight in May.
And actually, we talked about it before, but it's been officially announced, hasn't it? Michaela Mayer versus Christina Lindatu.
Yes.
The copper box.
Yeah.
So that's another big fight that's coming our way.
When is that? That's April, isn't it?
Is it April? Yes, April. It's like the 15th of April or something.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm happy she's back in the UK.
Yes, me too. Me too. I think she's got such a big fan base here now. People love her over here. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of the female boxers over here.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I mean, I think I told you when it first got announced, I wasn't overly excited about the matchup, but it does make sense because obviously it being Alicia Bongarda's only loss, matches them up perfectly for a rematch. But it's the reason I didn't love it is because from a point of view from Michaela Mayer, it's a perfect matchup. But for Christina making a comeback as a former world champion, I feel like it's too much of a jump from having been out from having a baby. But we'll see.
She's confident. We saw the back and forth on the post that we put out on Instagram.
I love that because I didn't expect her to do a bit of back and forth, and I was like, so I started highlighting her. I was thinking, I'm not stirring the pot here, but it's just because
you were shit stirring.
Yeah, that's basically it. But it's because we don't often hear from Christina, so I thought, oh great, here we go, here she is. Having a voice.
It was good. I enjoyed it. But then they were dead respectful. I read like a press release from the both, and they were both quite respectful of each other. And I was like, no, go back to like the Instagram stuff and go back and forth. But I'm looking forward to that fight. Like I said, I think it's a really, really good fight for Michaela to, regain the confidence. Probably not in herself, probably more just, I think if she feels hard done by sometimes, you probably lose confidence in everything, like the judges and everything, don't you? So maybe just completely reboost the confidence and potentially push on. I still think we could end up seeing the Alicia rematch this year. I wasn't convinced, but now I've heard, Alicia mentioned it a couple of times, and even Eddie Hearn mentioned it, and I was like, And I feel like there's a reason Michaela's back in the UK.
Yeah. The rematch.
I reckon it will. I reckon it would headline in the UK.
Hope so. I'm going to
do. Yeah, we're there, front row.
Yeah.
Right. Well, been a pleasure as always, and we'll and thank you, Jack, as well.
For being our backstage person out there.
Always helpful. Right. See you all next week.
Yeah.